Hello students, today we will discuss chapter number 3rd, that is private, public and global enterprises. Okay, and this PPT and this discussion which we are going to do is as per the CBSE revised syllabus, after removing the topics which are not coming in your exams this year. So we'll start the chapter that is public, private and multinational companies or global enterprises. So public sector and private sector enterprises. Okay, now what is public sector enterprise and what is private sector enterprise? See, in chapter number 2nd we have seen the various forms of business or private sector like sole proprietorship, joint into family business, cooperative societies and company form of organization. In this chapter we will compare both of the enterprises and we will see what are the various kind of public sector enterprises are existing in the economy. So before starting the various type of public sector enterprises, let's see what is the basic differences, what are the basic differences between private sector and public sector enterprise. See, private sector enterprises are the business owned, managed and controlled by the individuals or the group of individuals. Okay, in simple terms you can see, you can say that private sector are those enterprises or these are those forms of business which are owned and managed by the individuals or group of individuals. Okay, separately, there is no intervention from the government, there is no role of government. And the example of the various form of private sectors are sole proprietorship, partnership, joint Hindu family business, cooperative societies, company and multinational corporations, as we have studied in chapter number 2nd. Where if you see the public sector enterprises, the public sector enterprise are the various organization owned and managed by the government. This organization may be either partially or wholly owned by the central or state government. So this is the basic difference between private sector and public sector. See, private sector is managed by the group of individuals or individuals and controlled by them too. In public sector enterprise, these are the organizations which are owned and managed by the government actually, and the ownership can be on the hand of state government or central government or partially state or central government. They may also be part of ministry and they came into existence by the special act of parliament that we will discuss afterwards. The government through this enterprise participate in the economic activities of the country. Now this enterprise shows the participation of government in the economy of the country and their role in development of the economy. The various forms of organizations under public sector enterprise are departmental undertakings, statutory corporations and government companies. So these are some basic difference between private sector enterprise and public sector enterprise. There are other differences too regarding the controlling, management, the employees, officers, that we will discuss further, and it's given in an NCERT book. You can just go through it. But these are the main difference between the private sector enterprise and public sector enterprise. Now moving to the next, we will see what are the various features of public sector enterprise, so it will help us to understand it better. See, and the government has a major role to play in the formation of the public sector enterprise, or you can say the formation of this enterprise is quite easy because they are the undertakings by the government. See, government acts through its people, its officers, employees and they take decision on the behalf of the government. Now see how the government play a major role in that. See, government set up these undertakings and government has the complete control and management. Okay, and the ways people and the officers and the employees who are working in this enterprise are act on the behalf of government. Okay, they act on the behalf of the government, and for this purpose this enterprise are formed by the government to participate in the economic activities of the country. So by the behalf of the government, okay, this employees, officers and other participants of this enterprise can play a part in the Indian economy on the behalf of the government, or you can say that indirectly government is taking participate in the economy by these officers and employees and all. Public sector enterprise contribute to in the economic development. See, we are living in a mixed economy. Now what is mixed economy? Then economy where the both private sectors and the public sectors works together, okay, and they participate together. Now see, there are so many things, there are so many projects and there are so many services in which private sector enterprise cannot take part. So to perform this kind of activities and to perform this kind of business activities, government has to intervene in that, government has to take part. So directly or indirectly, public sector enterprise really contribute in the economic development of the country. Yes, see, it's given that they are expected to contribute to the economic development of the country in today's liberalized competitive world. Now, what is liberalized competitive world? I will explain it in later points. This point is quite same. See, this enterprise are owned by the public and are accountable to the public through the parliament. Now, the question is how they can be owned by the public. See, who elect the government? Public elect the government. We are living in the largest democracy of the world. So, every man has right to vote. So, we elect the government, and this enterprise are the part of the government. So, indirectly, who is the owner of this enterprises? Public is the owner of the enterprises, and yes, these enterprises are accountable to the public through the parliament. Okay, they have to, you have seen the budget session that and you have seen a lot of session in the parliament that they have to represent themselves. The various undertakings have to represent the various reports they have to present to the public actually. So they are accountable to the public. They have to give the answer to the public through the parliament of the country, because the persons are the leaders and the representatives who are sitting in the parliament are elected by the government, elected by the people themselves. So moving to the next. This enterprise may take any particular form of organization depending upon the nature of its operations and the relationship with the government. See, we have discussed the form of public enterprise, which are departmental undertakings, statutory corporations and government companies. So, they can decide the form of organization on the basis of the operations and basis of a relationship with the government. So basically, you can say there are three type of public enterprises, that is departmental undertakings, statutory corporations and government companies. Now, at the same time, in accordance with the general principle, any organization in the public sector should ensure organizational performance, productivity and quality standards. See, they have to follow the principles, same principles regarding the company, and by following these principles, they have to make sure that they can perform very well productivity wise, and they should ensure the quality in product and services. Now, these are some basic points which are given here, that which we don't have to discuss so much. Yes, now I'll tell you about the mixed economy, and we have discussed point that about that liberalized competitive world. See, we are living in a mixed economy, that is private sector and public sector. See, what exactly happens? Happened that in the policy of 1991, there are so many industrial policy resolutions passed by the government, like policy resolution 1948, policy resolution 1956. But one of the most important one is the industrial policy of 1991. It was completely different from all the earlier policies. Now, what happened in this policy? That disinvestment took place from the public sector units which are not working properly and which are not giving enough revenues to the government. So they made the disinvest from them and they transferred the power to the private sector. And yes, after the policy of 1991, I think you heard the name of policy of the LPG, liberalization, privatization, globalization. After that policy, the role of private sector has increased in Indian economy actually, because now you are getting more choice, you are getting so many product and service, and also it becomes very easy for the foreign companies to make the investment in India. So yes, there was a liberalized competitive world, because now they are having so much liberty to take the decisions and all these kind of things. So yes, to stand in this competitive world, to contribute in the economy in this competitive world, public enterprise has to make some decisions regarding that. Yes, we are living in mixed economy. Now we will study about the various kind of public enterprise, and the first name is departmental undertakings. Okay, now what are departmental undertakings? See, departmental undertaking is the oldest and most traditional form of organizing public enterprise. Now see how it takes place. You have heard about railway department, defense department, agriculture department, human resource department. These are the various departments of the government which look after the activities which are granted to them by the government. Now, This enterprise are set up, established as a department of ministry and are considered part of an extension of ministry itself. See, each department has an activity of the particular. See, if we talk about the railway department will consist of the sub departments and other kind of persons or activities which are related with the railways. So these departments are completely under the control of the particular ministry. Suppose railway ministry, defense ministry, so the particular department is under the control of the ministry and they are accountable to the ministry and they have to give the answer to the ministry. Okay, so these are the considered as a part of extension of ministry itself. Moving to the next, the government functions through these departments and the activities performed by them are the integral part of functioning of the government. So indirectly government is functioning through these departments. All the working, all the management and all the control is done by the government because the ministry belongs to the government. So the government has complete control on them and various functions which are performed in the departments are the functions of government. Yes, and this units and this undertakings are not regarded as autonomous or independent because they are the departments of the government and they are known by the name of the government too. They don't have any kind of separate identity. The workers or the employees who are working in this offices and in these departments are known as government employees and they are headed by the IAS officers or civil servants. Okay, the heads and the managers and all the persons who are managing and who are looking for the working are the IAS officers and civil servants. These undertakings may be under the state government or maybe under the central government. And for example, the Indian Railways and the Defense Ministry, Post and Telegraph Services are run by the Department of Ministry of Communication. These are the example of that. And the rules and regulations which are passed by the state or central government, they are applicable in these departments. Moving to some other features, they are accountable to the ministry, I already told you, and the funding of this enterprise are coming directly from the government treasury. Now who funds them? Government funds these departments. The funds directly pass through the government treasury. You have seen so many budget sessions in the parliament that the particular budget is given to the defense ministry, this much budget is given to the railway department. So the funding of this enterprise comes from the government itself. And they are subjected to the accounting and audit controls applicable to the government activities. Now the auditing, the accounting and the checking of accounting is completely done according to the government rules and regulations. The employees of the enterprise are the government servants. Yes, I already told you the employees of these departments are government servants and they are headed by the officers of Indian Administrative Service. And they are completely regarded as a major subdivision of government departments. Yes, these are the division of government department and they are completely under the direct control of the ministry, which is completely related with these departments. Now we will see what are the various advantages and merits of this kind of departments, this kind of undertakings which are known as department undertakings. See, this undertaking facilitate the parliament to exercise effective control over the operations. See, these are the undertakings of the government. So yes, they are having the power to exercise the effective control over the various operations which are done in the economy and which are done in the particular departments. So they are having effective control because they are having the power, they are having the facilities. Moving to the next, they ensure the high degree of public accountability because see, these are the undertakings of the government and government is elected by the public, so they should have the high degree of public accountability. They are answerable to the public, they have to give the answer to the public through the parliament. We already discussed that thing. So the revenue which are earned by these undertakings are the source of income of the government. Yes, what is the source of income? See, who funds these undertakings? Yes, government fund these undertakings, and the revenue which comes from these undertakings are regarded as the income source for the government. Yes, this is the thing. And last but not least, where the national security is concerned, this form is most suitable since it is under the direct control and supervision of the concerned ministry. See, where the national security comes, where the high matter comes, it is always preferable the department undertakings than any other form. Okay, because they are under the direct control of the government, and the government will look betterment for that. So these are the various advantages of that, and others, this all the points are which are given you in NCERT book. You just can go through it. Now, if there are some advantages, there are also some limitations. See, the first limitation is lack of flexibility. These undertakings fail to provide flexibility because they are under the control of the government, and if the government is controlling something, it does not provide them any kind of freedom to act at their own. So sometimes flexibility is very much essential for the smooth operation of the business, which is not present in these undertakings. And the employees or the head of the departments of these undertakings are not allowed to take the independent decisions. This is one of the most important points. See, the head of these departments or the persons who are working in these departments, they are not allowed to take the decision by themselves. They need the approval of the ministry. Okay, the thing is that they need the approval of the ministry, and in this process it can lead to the delays, which is really not good actually. See, I'll give this small example of that. Suppose it's any person, suppose if there is a railway station, and the manager of the railway station or the head of the railway station, he want to build something, he want to build a store, or you can say he want to set up a store on the platform which will be useful for the public. He is having a very good thinking, and he want to take decision, but he cannot take the decision without the approval of the ministry. So it will lead to the delays and delays. You have seen a lot of examples around you in the government working that it lead to the delays, and this is because of this, because the heads are not independent to take the decisions. Next is this enterprise are unable to take the advantage of business opportunities. This point is related with the previous one. See, if there is any kind of business opportunities which need the instant decisions to make, okay, and yes, if there is a business opportunity, it will contain the risk, but it need to take the instant decisions, and you know very well that no one can take the instant decision without the permission of the government, without the permission of the ministry. So it can lead to the go away of business opportunities. They are unable to take such advantages in these undertakings. There is a red tapeism in day-to-day operation, means that there are a lot of channels where the information has to pass, where the decision has to pass. So when any kind of information or any kind of decision is passed through the proper channel of authority, it make the whole delay. So it is just because of red tapeism, okay, bureaucracy. So just because of that thing, it becomes a disadvantage of that no action can be taken unless it goes to the proper channel of authority. So these are the things. And yes, if it is a government company, it is a department undertakings, then there are definitely lot of political interference will be there. And yes, the last but not least, this organization are usually insensitive to the consumer needs. See, this is something that we have to discuss. These are the undertakings which are meant for the public. Okay, we are spending a lot of money on that. We are paying taxes which act as a income source for them. So directly you can say that these are the companies or these are the undertakings which are responsible for the public, but yes, they becomes insensitive to the consumer needs so many times and do not provide adequate service to them. We have seen a lot of things why the private companies are emerging so much. See, you can see the service of a government hospital and a service of a private bank. Okay, you can see the service of a government bank and service of a private bank. So there's a lot of difference in that, and that what we say insensitivity. Okay, they don't care about the public. They are getting the salary, the employees are getting salary time to time, so they becomes insensitive to consumer needs. So these are some of the disadvantages of departmental undertakings. Okay, now the next important public enterprise unit we are talking, we will discuss, that is statutory corporations. Statutory corporations are the corporations, or these are the enterprises, these are the public enterprises which brought into existence by the special act of parliament. Okay, now see, we will understand in a very simple way. A different act is passed in the parliament about these corporations, and all the rules and regulations, all the policies, all the governing rules regarding its employees and any relationship with the government, these all things are included in this act, and this enterprise comes into existence after passing of this act in the parliament, and all the rules and regulation and everything which are mentioned in this act, they are applicable to this organization. So statutory corporations are the public enterprise brought into existence by the special act of parliament. Okay, and all the powers and functions which are mentioned in the act, they are completely applicable in these undertakings. And okay, one important point is given here, that this enterprise are financially independent with the clear control over a specified area. Okay, they have complete control over the particular area for which this enterprise are formed, and yes, they are financially independent. And this act has a different it has a different identity. It is not like government undertakings that which are under the governmental control. They are having a separate legal identity. They are having a different legal entity. It means they can act as their own. Examples of act as own means that they are having their own power, they are having their own rules and regulation. So very important point, that statutory corporation therefore have a power of the government and considerable amount of operating flexibility in the private enterprise. So there is a dual benefit. They are having the power of government. Yes, if you see the practically they are under the government undertakings, but yes, see, they are having the power of government, and yes, they are having the operational flexibility of private enterprise. So it means they can work there at their own. And examples, if you want to see, then the Reserve Bank of India, the State Bank of India, life insurance corporations, ONGC, employee state insurance corporation. So these are the various example of statutory corporations. Now we will see some of the features. I already told you some, that they are set up under the special act of the parliament, which defines their objective, power, privileges and statutory of these corporations. And yes, this type of organization are under the control of the state. It means the owner and the owner, or you can say this enterprise, are completely owned by the state government. Whatever the profits is earned by this enterprise are the profits of the state government. And yes, at the same time, the state who are controlling and who own these corporations, they also have to bear the losses if any kind of losses there. And this corporation is independent, so it can be sued, or it can sue. It means they can file the case against some people, and the people can file the case against this corporation. So because they it act as a different identity. It is independently financed. It means it obtains funds by the borrowing from the government or from the public through revenues derived from the sale of goods and service, and it has authority to use this revenue. It means they are financially independent. They earn their revenues, and they are having power to use this revenues accordingly they want. This corporation not subjected to the same accounting and audit. Okay, this is an important point. See, we have studied a point in the departmental undertakings that various audit and accounting procedure is done by the government rules and regulation, but this corporation is not subjected to the same accounting and audit procedure. The procedure and the accounting terms and audit, the accounting, this procedure is mentioned in that particular act, and according to that act only the accounting and auditing should be done. And this is also not concerned with the state, with the central budget. Central government never provided any budget to them, because they are owned by the state, and the state is responsible for their funding, and they are liable for their any other things. So there is no central budget for the from the government, central government. The employees of this enterprise are not government or civil servant, and are not governed by the government rules and regulation. Yes, important point to remember, they are not government servant, and they are not concerned with any government rules and regulation. Yes, the condition of service of the employees are governed by the provision of act itself. At the same time, some officers are taken from the government departments on deputation to head this organization. Yeah, this is the thing, that any government official can be transferred or can be deputed to this organization sometimes when they need to head this organization. So these are the various features of this statutory corporations. Now, yes, there are some merits and advantages of this cooperation. First one is they enjoy high degree of operational flexibility because they are free from the undesirable government rules and regulation and control, because they come into existence by the special act of the parliament. So whatever the rules and regulations which will govern them, they are according to that particular act, not according to the other government regulations. So the fund of the organization do not come from the central budget. So the government generally do not interfere, because where the central government will interfere, when they will provide some budget, so they have to look after where the budget is used or using. So since the funds are not from the government, government will definitely not interfere in the financial matters. So moving to the next point, they act as an autonomous organization and they can frame their own policies. So they works as an independent organization, so they can frame their own policy and procedure which within the power assigned to them by the act. So they can frame their policies, they can frame their working conditions, they can frame their activity chart according to the act, according to the powers which is assigned to them by the act, according to all the rules and regulation which is provided, which is included in the Act C. Next one is this cooperation is valuable instrument for the economic development. See, it is a part of we already studied that it is a part of government enterprises, is a part of public enterprises. So they play a very important role in the economic development of the country. It has a power of government and combined with the initiative of the private enterprise. So yes, they enjoy the dual power, the power from the government and flexibility from the enterprises. Yes, there are some advantages, but yes, there are also some limitations. See, if you see the practical, sense, a statutory cooperation does not enjoy as much as operational flexibility. See, I tell you, I'll explain you in a simple way. See, whatever comes under the government regulation, it never enjoys so much flexibility. So the same thing happens here, because it is owned by the state government, it is owned by the government actually, practically, if you see. So it does not enjoy so much operational flexibility which is stated in the advantages and merits. So all the actions are subject to many rules and regulations which are from the government. And yes, if there is a small part of government and political interference is definitely present in this organizations, and this political and government interference will present whenever there are huge funds involved. Whenever there are huge funds involved, government will definitely interfere and definitely will take some charges in that. Moving to the next, where there is a dealing with the public, rampant corruption exists. We all know that if anything related with the government is there, definitely corruption will exist. So this is one of the limitation of that. And the government has a practice of appointing advisors to the corporation board. This curbs the freedom of corporation in entering into contracts and other decisions. Okay, if there is any disagreement, the matter of is referred to the government for the final decision that further delays action. Now see, I'll explain in brief what exactly it is. See, what government exactly do? The government will act his own personnel in the board of these companies. Getting my point? The managing board of the statutory corporations, the government will appoint his own person in this board of directors or this controlling board of the corporation board. This will actually limits the freedom of this corporation, because indirectly government is having his own personnel and he will look after the workings and other policies of this corporation. So it will restrict the freedom of these corporations. Okay, and if there is any disagreement on any kind of decisions, that decision will taken by the government. And yes, if the decision is taken by the government, it will lead to the further delays because of the bureaucracy, because of the red tapeism we have discussed earlier. So these are the various limitations of the statutory corporations. Now our next form of public enterprise is a government company. Okay, now what is government company? By the name you can say the company which is controlled and owned by the government, it is known as government company. But yes, let's see in brief. A government company is established under the Companies Act 2013 and it is registered as the governed by the provision of this act. A government company has been formed as a private limited company, may be formed as a private limited company or a public limited company. These are established by the purely business purpose and in the true spirit complete with the companies in the private sector. See, what exactly is that? This company is formed according to the Companies Act, which is same for the private company too and any other form of company. So this is a government company. Now what exactly government company is? Yes, by name we can say which is controlling managed and owned and controlled by the government. But you see, what is the real definition? The definition is given here. A government company means any company in which not less than 51% of the paid up capital is held by the central government or by any state government, or partially by central or government and partially by one of the most state government. And it includes a company which is a subsidiary of a government company. It means whenever any government, whether central government, whether state government, or partially central government or the government of any two states, if they are having more than 50% of capital, paid up capital of the company, it means which is having more than 51%, like more than 51, not less than 51%, more than 50% of investment belongs to the government, it is known as government company. And it's given that since the government is a major shareholder, the exercise control over the management of these companies are known as government companies. Because government is a major shareholder, complete control and management is of the government. And all the provision of the Company Act of 2013 are applicable. So what are the provisions are mentioned in the Companies Act? They are applicable in these companies too, just same like private companies. And the shares of the companies are purchased in the name of the President of India. Yes, point to remember, shares of the companies are purchased in the name of the President of India, because it's a government company. So yes, President of India is the head of the state. Example, you can say BHEL, BHEL, you heard the name. Bharat Heavy Electronics Limited, this is completely government company. Maruti Udyog Limited, now see, Maruti Udyog Limited was started as a government company, and in 2007 this investment is made, and now it is held by the parent company, that is Suzuki India Limited. Yeah, but it is started as a government company, and a lot of examples are there: Hindustan Steel Limited, Hindustan Aeronautics Limited, Hindustan Machine Tools, and so many examples are there. You can look on that. See, we see what are the features of government companies. See, this first one is we already discussed. This organization are created under the Companies Act 2013. You have to remember this act, Companies Act 2013, okay, and or any other previous company law. This company can file a suit in court and law against it, means case can be filed against these companies, and these companies also can file a case against some persons. The company can enter into a contract and can acquire the property of its own name. It means, see, company is regarded as a separate person, so this company can enter into any kind of contract, and they can acquire the property of its own name. See, various companies are buying their property on their company's name. In same way, this company also can acquire the property and buy the property on their own name. And the management of the company regulated by the provision of Companies Act. What are the rules and regulation provisions which are mentioned in the Companies Act? The same are applicable in these companies. And the employees of the companies are appointed according to their own rules and regulations and contained in the memorandum and article of association of the company. See, memorandum and article of association are one of the most important document of any company, which mention the rules and regulation, which mentions the procedure of appointing employees and all. We will see in further chapters. So employees are appointed according to the rules and regulations which are mentioned in these memorandums, and these companies are exempted from the accounting and audit rule and procedures. Okay, see, the auditing procedure and the accounting procedure is done by the central government, because it's given here then auditor is appointed by the central government, and the annual report is to be presented in the parliament or the state legislature. Whatever the report is there, the annual report of this company, the auditing report of these companies are presented in the parliament after the auditing is completed. So the auditor and the auditing procedure is applied by the central government. The government company obtains funds from the government shareholdings or other private shareholders. It means the public can buy the shares, the private shareholders, they can buy the shares from this government and government shareholdings also. So it is actually that way to raise the funds from the public and from the private shareholders. So it is not permitted to raise funds from the capital market. Yes, what is capital market? We will study in further chapters. See, the market with the securities and bought and sold is the market of securities. So these are not permitted to raise from the capital market. The government is the major shareholding in these companies, and yes, some private shareholders can be too. So these are some various features. Now we'll see what are the merits of government company. See, government company can be established by fulfilling the requirements. So it means that the formation is quite simple than if you compare with any other form of organization in public enterprise. There is no separate act needed to form these companies. So they can be easily formed by according to the requirements of Indian Companies Act. It has a separate legal entity because it is a company, so it is one of the merit of that. It enjoys autonomy because all the major decisions are taken according to the business procedures. It means it is regarded as a different company, it's a government company, so it enjoys autonomy. By saying we can say it is enjoying autonomy. What is further we will see. These companies, by providing goods and services at a reasonable price, are able to control and market and curb unhealthy business practice. Yes, they provide the product and service at a reasonable price because these are the government company and government is accountable for the public. So yes, they provide the goods and service at a reasonable price and able to control the market and curb unhealthy business practice like private holdings, like raising of the price and all these things. So yes, this is one of the merit. Next one is limitations. Now what are the various limitations of government companies? See, the government is only the shareholder in some of the companies because sometimes only government is the shareholder, and sometimes where the more than 50% of paid up capital is by the government, then yes, any kind of Companies Act have not much relevance because it is then controlled and everything is managed by the government itself. So Companies Act sometimes lose its relevance in this kind of sense. It evades constitutional responsibility which a company financed by the government should have. It is not answerable directly to the parliament. Yes, this is one of the demerit. Statutory corporation are answerable in the parliament, but they are not answerable directly to the parliament. Okay, because it is completely financed by the government and owned by the government. So yes, they don't have to answer directly in the parliament. They have to answer, the annual report should be presented, but yes, we can say they don't have any kind of liability to answer the directly. Next one is the government being the sole shareholder. The management and administration rest in the hand of the government. The main purpose of government company register like other company is defeated. So yes, we already discussed earlier that as a sole shareholder, as a major shareholder, the management and complete administration rests in the hand of the company, and the main purpose of the company, like other companies, it is defeated because now the government will look after everything. So this are some of the public enterprise that we have discussed. The next topic is global enterprises, which is removed from your topic, and this is the recap of what we have discussed about private sector versus public sector, departmental undertakings, limitation of that, statutory corporation, merits, limitations and features, government company, merits, limitations and various features. So guys, the chapter is completed, and below that there are some objective questions which will be provided to you shortly. So this is the chapter number 3, private, public and global enterprises, in which the topic of global enterprises is removed from your topic. So we will see you in next chapter. If you find any doubt or any query relating to this chapter, please do message. Thank you very much.